This is Larry Bonerato from LarryOnLearning.com, and this is your Morning Minute. Inflation, what it is and why it matters, Part 1. Inflation is the increased price of goods and services from one year to the next. There are many reasons for this. Inflation primarily occurs when government spends more than it collects. The Treasury simply prints more money to cover government spending, making our money worth less. More money chasing the same amount of goods and services always creates price increases, and that is inflation. Deficit spending by government is the primary cause of inflation and the reason why our dollars are worth less. When a government passes a bill like the misnamed Inflation Reduction Act, which spent billions of dollars the government does not have, buying things we do not need in order to buy votes, they simply print more money. And more money chasing the same amounts of goods and services creates inflation. There are other factors as well. When government increases taxes or puts an additional regulation on businesses, those expenses are passed along to the purchaser in the form of price increases. When the government mandates addition of some new safety equipment on an appliance or a car, the cost is passed along to the buyer as a price increase. Politicians will tell you that they're taxing obscene profits. However, the buyer ends up paying the taxes and the upgrades when they buy the item. That is inflation. Increasing costs due to inflation affects both individuals and families alike. To cope, they may take on a second job or have both adults working. They reduce shopping or eating out and repair their current home or car instead of buying a new one. Some families even decide not to have children due to inflation. Our reaction to inflation starts with concern. It leads to disgust, and disgust creates exasperation, which then leads to anger, and that is where we are today. To add insult to injury, our government made changes in how they calculate inflation. These changes lead to underreporting the rate of inflation. Here are some examples. First, instead of using actual prices for items bought by consumers, they use estimates by, quote, government agencies, end quote. Second, they removed interest rate increases in calculating inflation. Third, instead of using actual home prices, mortgage and rent payments, they employ a government calculation called OER, that is, owner's equivalent rent, whatever that is. There's an old saying about reporting numbers: figures don't lie, but liars figure. Thus, we were told in 2022 that inflation was 9%, when the actual rate was 17%. Underreporting of inflation erodes the value of savings and pensions. Plus, Social Security payments to retirees do not rise as fast as inflation because the cost of living adjustment, COLA, is based on underreported inflation rates. Social Security payments for 2023 increased by only 8%, although the real inflation rate in 2022 was 17%. In Part 2 of this discussion, we'll discover the actions required to get inflation under control, and we'll see how that eliminating its negative effects will benefit us all. Inflation, what it is and why it matters. And that is today's Morning Minute.